I'm going to preface this video by saying this was far from an easy install. So for one, be sure to have an extra set of hands with you, and two, have all of the tools you need ready and organized. Read through the directions beforehand, but use those as a rough guide rather than exact step-by-step directions. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. I've added chapters to this video so you can use the links in the description to skip to specific parts. I've also listed all the tools you'll need in the description as well. So be sure to go ahead and save and like this video so you can go back and reference it later. While I didn't use them in the video, ramps or a set of jack stands to elevate the rear of the car would have been incredibly helpful and saved my lower back. My Tesla is a 2021 Model 3 that was manufactured in March of 2021. Let's get started. Start by opening the trunk and removing the plastic fasteners holding the fabric lining up. Pull back the lining and disconnect the wiring harness that goes to the LED trunk lights. Remove the plastic trim lining the top and bottom of the trunk. You can remove the gasket that lines the trunk if it's in the way. You will need to open the rear trunk compartment to remove the bottom lining. These will pop out of place with a little bit of pulling. Take a screwdriver or your pry tool and remove the 4 fasteners along the bottom of the trunk. Now you can pull back the trunk fabric and access the taillights. Disconnect the wiring harnesses leading to the taillights and then take an 8mm socket and remove the 2 nuts holding the taillight on. On the outside of the taillight, there is a plastic screw cap on the top you will remove by hand. Afterwards, check to make sure all the wiring is disconnected and pull the taillight straight back. You can wiggle it a little bit if it gives you trouble. You can also use your pry tool with a microfiber towel wrapped around it to help. Do the exact same thing for the other side. After removing the taillight, there should be a flange bolt holding on the top of the bumper. Remove each of these with a 10mm socket. Next, go into the rear wheel wells. That is really hard to say. There will be about 3 to 4 of those plastic fasteners on the bottom of the wheel well connected to the bumper. Remove those with a flathead screwdriver or your pry tool. Do not confuse these plastic fasteners with the flatter nuts that are also in the wheel well. There's a T25 head screw on the upper outer rear side of each wheel well that will need to be removed. A screwdriver worked here best for me rather than using a drill. Next, get underneath the vehicle and begin removing the bolts holding on the plastic cover. There are around 5 to 8 of these bolts holding on the cover. Typically 2 closest to the rear, hidden under plastic covers, 3 in the middle, and then 2 or 3 closest to the center of the vehicle. For the ones that are closest to the center of the vehicle, pay very close attention to how the plastic cover is layered with the fiberboard. The plastic cover should be layered underneath the fiberboard for when you go back to reassemble everything. It is incredibly difficult to move the plastic and relayer it if you reassembled it incorrectly after you've already put the bumper back on. Seriously, don't screw this up on the reassembly. Messing this up added at least another half an hour to the job for me, and that was under the car the entire time. Set a moving blanket or something else that has some padding underneath the bumper to avoid scratching it and save your knees. I also line the edge of the rear corner panels with painter's tape to avoid scratching those areas while removing the bumper. Start lifting and pulling the bumper out. Be careful not to pull too hard because there is a wiring harness that connects to the rear sensors that has a short connection. After the bumper is off, disconnect the wiring harness that will be in the center of the bumper. Take a 10mm socket and remove the 5 bolts from the plastic trim piece along the top of the impact bar. Be careful removing this as there is a plastic hook on each side that helps hold it in place that can break very easily. Ask me how I know. Next, take a 15mm deep socket with an extension and remove the bolts holding on the impact bar. You may need to use a cheater bar to get some extra leverage on these bolts. A deep socket will not reach these alone. You must have an extension. Remove the impact bar, and now you can access the 3 to 4 bolts holding on each base plate. Use a 15mm deep socket to remove the nuts holding these on. The base plates can be discarded. Clean up any sealant or gunk that's around these bolts. You want a clean surface here. Put a plastic washer on each of the bolts sticking out from the car. Place the hitch on the studs and put a nut on only the bottom left corner bolt on the driver's side and on the bottom right of the passenger side. I made a mistake in the video, and you'll see why you only want to put one of these on each side for now. You can tighten these up snug with a socket wrench. What I'm showing you now is the less efficient way of reattaching the brackets and impact bar. You can put the brackets on first, then the impact bar, but a better way would have been to attach the brackets to the impact bar while it was still on the ground, then attach the assembly as one to the rest of the vehicle. Either way works, but by attaching the bracket to the impact bar before either are connected to the vehicle, you save yourself some hassle. Just be sure the notch on the frame bracket is pointing up and the thinner side of the impact bar is on the bottom. It'll be very difficult to wedge a wrench in between the hitch and the frame bracket to tighten the bolts holding on the impact bar. For the bolts holding on the bracket to the impact bar, you'll want to layer it bolt, metal washer, bracket, nylon washer, impact bar nut, and somewhere in there, maybe add a little bit of blue Loctite. Connect the frame brackets to the vehicle, then tighten the nuts holding the brackets to the vehicle snug. You will then want to tighten all nuts connecting the hitch assembly to the vehicle to 45 foot-pounds with a torque wrench. Again, you may want to add some blue Loctite to the threads of all the bolts. Double check to make sure everything is torqued to the appropriate specs. Now you can install the rack receiver or tow kit. While I'm hesitant to recommend Stealth Hitch, this is the brand I purchased and am installing. You can also check out Torque Lift Central's Eco Hitch. This step may be a little bit different depending on the model you purchased and when you've purchased it. Insert the latch block, then run the bolts through and include the chain hooks if necessary. I added some anti-seize on these bolts since this is a moisture-prone area. Torque each bolt to 150 foot-pounds. So I did purchase the towing wiring kit, but after messing with Stealth Hitches for several hours, finding errors in the installation guide, and the wiring kit ultimately not working, I abandoned the project. Maybe I'll do a separate video on this in the future, but not now. In short, don't buy the wiring harness kit, at least not from Stealth Hitch. Connect the black plastic trim that sits above the impact bar. Remember, there are two plastic hooks that can break easily if you're not careful. Tighten the flange bolts holding this plastic piece on snug. No need to use an impact driver here. The bumper is an absolute pain in the to get back on by yourself. Again, ask me how I know. Get someone to help you line it up. There's no easy way to doing this, especially by yourself. You'll need to hook the clips in place, then ensure all of the panels are aligned. I ran out of recording space on the camera while doing this, so sorry about that. Once aligned, you can snap it back into place and attach the 10mm bolts that sit under the taillights. Line up the plastic cover beneath the vehicle. Ensure it is layered correctly with the fiberboard towards the center of the vehicle and tighten the bolts holding it on just past snug. Then reinstall the T25 bolt into each wheel well and replace the 6 to 8 plastic trim fasteners on the lower side of the wheel wells. Reconnect the remaining 2 bolts on the plastic guard underneath the bumper. Replace the taillights along with the plastic knobs and the 8mm bolts holding them on the interior. Reconnect the wiring harness. Again, turn on the car and verify the taillights are working. Reconnect the wiring harnesses leading to the trunk LEDs. Replace the upper and lower trim pieces in the trunk, and that's it. For me, this install was a 2-day project, and surprisingly and luckily, only 1 trip to AutoZone. So make sure you keep everything on hand and keep all of the nuts and bolts properly organized. Maybe use some Tupperware to place them in and a post-it note so you know where they go. The plastic trim pieces can sometimes break, so a while back I bought this container full of them for projects like this. Link to these in the description. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. I'll have more Tesla related videos and content coming out, so be sure you're subscribed so you get the notification when those do get uploaded. So, as always, thanks for watching. Until next time. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Read through the directions beforehand, but use those as a rough guide rather than... Now, you can pull back the trunk fabric... This plastic cover should be layered underneath the fire. I also lined the edge of the rear corner panel. You may need to use a cheater bar to get some extra leverage. Oh my God, leverage is so hard to say. Use a 15mm deep socket to remove these nuts. It'll be very difficult to wedge a wrench. You will then want to tighten all the nuts connecting the hitch assembly. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like it and suggest. So I did purchase the towing wiring kit.